Hi students, welcome to lesson number 13, Regional Imbalances. Now let us start with the introduction. India presents a wide regional variations. In terms of indicators of economic growth as per capita income, the proportion of population living below the poverty line, working population in agriculture, the percentage of urban population to total population, the percentage of workers in manufacturing industries, etc. Balanced regional is the growth is necessary for the harmonious development of a federal state such as India. Regional imbalances may be natural due to unequal natural endowments or man-made in the sense of neglect of some regions and preference of others for investment and development effort. The objectives of the lesson are: 1. To know the meaning of regional imbalance. 2. To understand the indicators of regional imbalance. 3. To study the types of disparities. Now let us start with the meaning of regional imbalance. Regional imbalance is defined as a state of disequilibrium in terms of economic and social criteria existing between two regions over the landscape. It is a condition in which an economy fails to extend benefits equally to all regions in the country or class in society. This uneven economic development is either due to historical processes like colonization or due to socio-economic processes. The existence both in capitalist and socialist countries which existed earlier. The regional imbalance can be spatial or social, that is the class differentiation, such as the regions with the dwellings of the people from lower caste may be less developed than that of higher caste. Regional imbalance has two dimensions: A. Regional disparity and development, B. Class differentiation. Regional imbalance can further be classified into: A. Inter-regional imbalance, Eastern and Western India, B. Intra-regional imbalance, the Vidarbha and Western Maharashtra, coastal Andhra Pradesh is more developed compared to the others. Natural resources and geographical factors like location and accessibility are not homogeneous. The landscape never follows the principle of isomorphism. Regional imbalances are the result of such heterogeneous character of the physical nature of the earth. At one place it has all the natural advantages, while others may have a disadvantage or the physical constraints to growth. However, the spread of human phenomenon introduces even more the variability by its technological application and difference across the landscape in terms of socio-economic growth, which are aggravated, and disequilibrium sets on with a typical characteristics flow which patterns where a segment of earth or region attracts the resources, people, factors of production and involve into a gigantic economic force by extracting and desertifying the surroundings. For example, the Bhilai region has attracted factors of production and has emerged as a developed town, but the surrounding areas have been decertified in terms of growth and development. Thus, regional imbalance refers to disequilibrium or disparity in terms of resource, productive or economic growth, an assemblage of factors of production between two or more regions, culminating into development disparities, regional consciousness and generating a flow pattern towards the developed region and polarization, agglomeration and fused economic growth. Now, let us study the types of disparities. They are the global disparity. The term global disparity describes the disparities that exist between the nations. Each country is at a different level of development, which causes disparity between the countries. Some countries have been endowed with resources in abundance, while there are countries that are extremely poor in resources. The interstate disparity, like the global disparities, there are also exist the disparities between the states in India. Interstate disparities or regional disparities or regional imbalances refer to a situation where the per capita income, standard of living, consumption situation, industrial and agriculture development are not uniform in different parts of a given region. The backwardness of the state could be the result of either regional diversity or disparity. Intrastate disparity. Intrastate disparity refers to disparity within the state. Intra-regional disparities in development can be identified through the macro indicators of development like allocation of resources, quality of governance, agrarian structure, income, consumption patterns and estimates of poverty. Rural-urban disparity. The rural-urban disparity has been prevalent in India for ages. Rural areas are considered backward areas in terms of availability of the basic infrastructure like the roads, electricity, water and sanitation facilities, schools and hospitals, etc. In contrast, these facilities are mostly available in urban areas. It is because of the absence of such facilities that rural areas lag behind urban areas in terms of the basic indicators of development like poverty, illiteracy, unemployment, etc. The indicators of imbalance. India is facing the problem of acute regional imbalances, and the indicators of such imbalances are reflected by the factors like per capita income, the proportion of population living below the poverty line, the percentage of urban population to total population, percentage of working population engaged in agriculture, the percentage of workers engaged in industries, infrastructural development, etc. A region may be known as economically backward as it is indicated by the symptoms like excessive pressure of population on land, too much dependence on agriculture, high incidence of rural employment and high degree of underemployment, low productivity in agriculture and cottage industry, under-urbanization, absence of basic infrastructural facilities, etc. The state per capita income as an indicator of regional imbalance. The most important indicator of regional imbalance and disparity among the different states of India is the difference in per capita state income figures. The states whose per capita income figures were higher than this national average, which includes Punjab, Goa, Haryana, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Among these 9 states, Punjab, Haryana, Maharashtra and Gujarat have attained a high degree of agricultural as well as industrial development. Interstate disparities in agriculture and industrial development. Another important indicator of regional disparity is the difference in the levels of agricultural and industrial development between the states of the country. In India, states like Punjab, Haryana and part of UP recorded a high rate of agricultural productivity due to its high proportion of irrigated areas and higher level of fertilizer use. Now, the population which is below poverty line. Percentage of population living below the poverty line in different states is another important indicator of regional imbalance or disparities. Bihar, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh are the 4 states which have the highest percentage of population below the poverty line, as well as they have the lowest per capita income in the country. There are some states like Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu which have achieved a comparatively higher per capita income, but instead they maintain the higher percentage of population living below the poverty line. Spatial distribution of industries. Another important indicator of regional imbalance is the uneven pattern of distribution of industries. Since independence, states like Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Gujarat, Punjab and Haryana have achieved considerable development in its industrial sector. But West Bengal could not keep pace in its industrial growth as much as other industrially developed states. In this way, the disparities in industrial growth between the different states have been reduced to some extent. Now, the degree of urbanization process. Disparities in the degree of urbanization process are another important indicator of regional imbalance. In respect of urbanization, the percentage of urban population to total population is an important indicator. The states which are maintaining higher percentage of urban population than the national average include Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu and Gujarat, and then followed by Karnataka, Punjab, Andhra Pradesh and West Bengal. Whereas, the states which are having a lower degree of urbanization include Himachal Pradesh, Assam, Bihar, Orissa, Arunachal Pradesh, etc. Now, per capita consumption of electricity. Per capita consumption of electricity is also another important indicator of regional disparities. States like Punjab, Gujarat, Haryana, Maharashtra, etc. having higher degree of industrialization and mechanization of agriculture and have recorded a higher per capita consumption of electricity than the economically backward states like Assam, Bihar, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. The employment pattern. Employment pattern of workers is also an important indicator of regional disparities. States attaining higher degree of industrialization are maintaining higher proportion of industrial workers to total population industrially developed like states Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal are still maintaining a higher proportion of agricultural laborers to total workers, as the industrial sector of these states have failed to enlarge the scope of employment sufficiently to engage more and more rural workers. The intrastate imbalance. Intrastate imbalance is another important indicator of regional imbalance existing within each particular state. There is a growing tendency among most of the advanced states to concentrate its developmental activities towards relatively more developed urban and metropolitan areas of the states while allocating its industrial and infrastructural projects. Now, let us understand the relative characteristics of development disparities. Less developed, which shows low per capita income, scarce capital, whereas the developed features the high per capita income, capital is easily available, uneven distribution of wealth in individual countries, whereas the developed features wealth evenly distributed within individual countries, primary industries like farming, forestry, mining, fishing, etc. occupy an important role in the national economy. On the other side, manufacturing and service industries are predominant in economies. Intensive subsistence farming is practiced. Agriculture is characterized by inefficient methods and unemployment or pseudo employment. The yield is low. On the other side, agriculture employs a significant percentage of the population. Extensive subsistence farming is practiced, but agriculture is efficient and mechanized. The yield is high. Most of the people live in rural areas, more than 70% of the total population in some cases. On the other side, most of the people live in urban areas, more than 70%. The high birth and death rates, high dependency ratio, population growth is high. On the other side, both birth and death rates are low, high life expectancy, hunger and malnutrition are all pervasive. On the other side, the supply of a balanced diet is adequate. Obesity due to overcreating is a common problem. Diseases of the infections, respiratory and parasitic types are common. Healthcare services are poor. On the other side, incidence of the disease is rare. Healthcare services are highly efficient. Overcrowding, poor housing facilities, underdeveloped public and sanitation systems prevail. On the other side, adequate housing facilities, sanitation exist. The man-land ratio is high. A high level of illiteracy prevails, which further prevents economic development. On the other side, highly efficient and integrated educational infrastructure exists. Gender disparity is high. Women are accorded an inferior status in society. On the other side, the level of women's emancipation is higher than that in developing countries. Now, let us examine the factors of imbalance. The historical factors. History of development played a great role in the development of certain regions. For example, Bombay and Delhi. The backwash effect thereafter showed its impact. Backwash effect refers to sucking of resources by developed areas from nearby areas, rendering them backward, whereas spread effect refers to the spread of development from more developed areas to nearby areas. The zamindari system in Bihar with a large suppressed class has its own role in the backwardness of the state. The physical factors. Physical factors include climate, soil, the natural resource endowments, location, accessibility, plains which invite civilization, mountains which push them away, deserts deny them, and coast augment them. The river valleys act as the cradles of civilization. Availability of groundwater, river transport, the fertile land and fertile soil always attracted man's settlement and development. Economic factors. The economic factor which includes the low wage rates, poor landman ratio, low standard of living, low per capita income, poor per capita consumption, trade pattern, industrialization, agriculture pattern and development, transport network. In India, the industries are concentrated in few regions which have led to regional imbalances. The demographic factor. Demographic factors include high dependency ratio, low wage rate, unemployment, negative sex ratio, young age ratio. Socio-cultural factors. The primitive mode of living, inward outlook of society, low acceptability of innovation, poor education facilities, poor health facilities. The political factors. The planned period after independence in terms of government policies led to regional imbalances. Government policies also play a major role, such as the second 5-year plan called for the development of industries in the backward areas for the regional development. Green Revolution also led to regional imbalances since it succeeded in northwestern India and not in eastern parts. The religious factors. Religion dogma and the religious perceptions which induce the cultural values and govern the social ethos are also responsible for regional imbalances. Now, let us study the consequences of regional imbalance. The interstates and intrastate agitations. Uneven regional development or regional imbalances lead to several agitations within a state or between the states. The erstwhile combined state of Andhra Pradesh can be cited as the best example of the consequences of intrastate regional imbalance in terms of development, which has led to several agitations for separate Telangana state, for several decades from 1969 up to 2014. Finally, it is formed as a separate state as the 29th state of India. Migration. Migration takes from backward areas to the developed areas in search of livelihood. For example, migration from rural to urban, because urban areas will provide a better quality of life and more job opportunities when compared to rural. Social unrest. Differences in prosperity and development leads to the friction between different sections of the society, causing social unrest. For example, Naxalism. Naxalites in India function in areas that have been neglected for a long time for want of development and economic prosperity. Pollution. Centralization of industrial development at one place leads to air and sound pollution. The establishment of several industries at one place leads to a shortage of houses. As a result, rental charges will increase abnormally. For example, Mumbai, New Delhi, Chennai and Hyderabad, and overpopulation led to the water crisis also. Frustration among the rural youth. In the absence of employment opportunities in rural and backward areas leads to frustration, especially among the educated youth. Underdeveloped infrastructure. Rural and backward areas do not have 24 hours power and proper houses, safe drinking water, sanitation, hospitals, doctors, telephone and internet facilities. Aggregation of the imbalance. Once an area is prosperous and has adequate infrastructure for development, more investments pour into the neglecting the less developed regions. So, an area which is already prosperous develops further. For example, the rate of growth of metropolitan cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore and Hyderabad is higher compared to other metro cities of India. Now, what could be the suggestions to remove the imbalances? Identification of the backward areas and allocation of the funds. Need for investments in backward areas. Good governance, that is, the better the governance, the less would be the disparities in country. Political will, there should be the political will which is very vital for the balanced regional development. To remove regional imbalances in a country. The incentives should be provided for promoting investments in the backward regions. Promoting new financial institution in backward regions. Setting up of regional boards. As per Article 321D of the Indian Constitution, regional boards with necessary legal powers, funds should be instituted to remove regional disparities in the states. The growth corridors, which comprise educational zones, agricultural zones and industrial zones, which should be operationalized for the rapid development of backward areas in the states. Strict restrictions on usage of productive agricultural lands for non-agricultural purposes to be implemented. If required, permissions for non-agricultural usage should be granted only after the farmers have been guaranteed a better life. Usage of natural resources for the development of tribal areas to be implemented. Composite criteria for identifying backward areas. With the mandal as a unit based on indicators of human development including poverty, literacy and infant mortality rates, along with indices of social and economic infrastructure, should be developed by the Niti Aayog. Devolution of funds. Union and state governments should adopt a formula for mandal devolution of funds targeted at more backward areas. Strengthening of local governments and making them responsible and accountable. A system of rewarding states, including developed states, achieving a significant reduction in intrastate disparities should be introduced. Additional funds for infrastructure. A greater share of the central pool of funds should be allocated to backward areas. Launching of special area programs like Desert Development Program, Drought-Prone Area Program, etc. Propagation and use of improved dry farming technology. The provision of infrastructural facilities in backward districts. Development of forward and backward linkages in the backward regions. Special grants are to be given to the backward and tribal areas. Schools to be opened providing free and compulsory education to remove illiteracy. Hospitals and dispensaries are to be set up to give medical care to the people. Water facilities to be provided for domestic purposes and agriculture. Cottage and small industries are to be promoted to provide employment opportunities. Roads and railway lanes have to be laid down to link different places. Government must speed up developmental works in backward areas. To sum up the lesson, what we have learned is regional imbalance, which is a threat to the goal of inclusive growth and reduction of poverty. The growing regional disparities have dampened the speed of further economic reforms and hence may pose a barrier to India's future economic growth. Regional disparities will result in regional tensions, which in turn may lead to popular agitations and at some times militant activities also. Regional disparities in economic and social development which exist within some of the states due to the neglect of certain backward regions have created and creating demand for separate states. As such, there is a strong need for strengthening good governance in the backward areas, and towards this end it is necessary that the local bodies in the backward areas are empowered and strengthened to reduce the regional imbalances in the country.